Good evening, Night Watchers. I wanted to ask a favor from all of you. I have had a Facebook page for this channel for a while now, but I never mention it these days. So it would really help me out if you'd click the link in the description and give Darkness Prevails a like on Facebook. Thanks. You're the best. Now, shall we? You're most vulnerable while asleep. This world is a strange one. More often than not, people shrug off stories of the paranormal that happen to take place around bedtime with sleep paralysis, the state in every deep state of sleep in which our mind shuts off most of our physical body. Oftentimes, we can wake up unable to move in this state, leading to panic and hallucinations. Well, whether or not these scary stories were caused by sleep paralysis, that doesn't make them any less creepy. I mean, people have died after waking up in sleep paralysis, and it could happen to any of us, any night, anywhere. Those monsters in your room don't have to be real. They just have to convince your mind that they are. Nopetoocreepy joins us in narrating 2 of these stories. Please give this talented narrator a listen, and be sure to subscribe to his channel if you enjoyed. Thanks, Nope. Number 1. Narrated by Darkness Prevails. This happened to me a few years ago, but I had chalked it up to sleep paralysis. However, reading some sleep paralysis experiences online, I don't know that what happened to me exactly jives with the symptoms, since I was able to talk. Here's my story. I had just come back from a bachelor party in New Orleans. Some of that was terrifying on a different level, where we did the requisite ghost tours, voodoo tours, etc. About a week and a half after we came back, I was asleep next to my now wife in our bed in our old apartment. This was an old building in New York City. The bed was pushed up against a wall, and she sleeps on the outside, so the only way for me to get out of bed would be to scoot to the foot of the bed or just roll over her. Point is, I'm kind of trapped once I'm in bed. Anyway, my eyes spring open in the middle of the night. I don't remember what time it was, possibly the dreaded 3 a.m. hour, and I sit up for some reason. I look around the room for the cat, and I realize something is standing in the corner of my room. It takes my eyes a minute to adjust, and I realize that I am looking at a woman, and she is looking right at me, kind of leaning forward, one leg in front of the other. She's kind of rocking back and forth, switching her weight from the other leg and then to the other. She's got darker skin, her hair is pulled back, but I don't really remember what she was wearing, just that it was dark. I stare at her, and she stares back at me. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm definitely dreaming right now, and I lie back down on my stomach, kind of bury my face in my pillow and tell myself that I'm just having a dream. It felt like someone was kneeling on my back, pushing my shoulder blades into the mattress. I start to have trouble breathing. I couldn't move. I start to panic. I had chalked this up to sleep paralysis, and please do debunk this story in the comments. It would make me feel much better. Except I start saying Hail Marys out loud. I can't move my body, but I'm able to say Hail Marys. Around the 5th one, the pressure on my back is gone, but I still continue to say the Hail Marys. I sit back up, and the apartment is completely normal. The cat returns about an hour later, gives me this "what do you want from me" look, and proceeds to fall asleep on my feet. I, however, am up all night, and I watch TV, figuring if this whatever demon voodoo evil woman bouncing on my back didn't wake up my wife, a few DVR'd episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia won't make her stir. Anyway, does that align with sleep paralysis, even though I was able to speak? Or did I bring a hitchhiker home from New Orleans? One that wasn't so friendly. Number 2. Narrated by Nopetoocreepy.
I started experiencing sleep paralysis about 3 years ago when I was 18. My first time was scary as hell. I woke up early one morning and immediately knew something was off. I knew I was awake, but I was unable to open my eyes or lift a limb. A force seemed to pin me down against my bed as if a ton of bricks lay upon my body. When I tried to call out for help, all that came out was a low hum. After what seemed like several minutes, it probably only lasted about 30 seconds though, I finally snapped out of the trance and yanked my body onto my side. My eyes shot open and I found myself gasping for air. What the hell was that? I thought. After some research, I learned about sleep paralysis. There were many scary explanations with stories about the devil's touch, but there were also logical explanations in which sleep paralysis is a result of disrupted REM sleep. I forced myself to believe the latter in order to stay sane. I started having random episodes of sleep paralysis every now and then, and I got to the point where I was more annoyed of it than scared. It kept me from being able to sleep in, and at times I would be unable to sleep at all, even if I was exhausted because I kept getting stuck. All of my experiences with sleep paralysis happened while my eyes were closed. Even if I wanted to open my eyes, the force was so strong that I had no choice but to be stuck in complete darkness. Never did I think I would be grateful for that. It's been a while since I've had sleep paralysis, up until a few months ago. I was experiencing insomnia one night, and I don't recall ever falling asleep. I realized I actually did get some sleep when I suddenly woke up earlier than usual. I think it was about 6 or 7 in the morning. Dread came over me as I realized I was unable to move. Not again, I thought. I was on my back, which was unusual because I typically try to avoid that. Sleeping on my back is uncomfortable and I usually get nightmares when I do. Suddenly, I found myself having a hard time breathing. I never feared for my life during sleep paralysis, but this particular episode caused me to panic. I struggled as hard as my mind and body would allow, but nothing would budge. The increasing panic caused my eyes to shoot open, with my body still pinned down. Flashes of evil, smiling, devil-like faces flashed before my eyes, then disappeared as soon as they started. As my blurry vision began to focus, I saw a black, distorted figure standing in the corner of my room. I struggled to turn my head toward the figure, but before I could take a good look at it, my body snapped out of the nightmare. I sat straight up and looked around my now brightly lit room and saw nobody. Tears began to stream down my face as I tried to keep myself together. That was the first time I've experienced sleep paralysis with my eyes open. It erased any logical beliefs I previously had. You truly don't know fear until you've experienced sleep paralysis like that. Just be sure to keep your eyes closed.
Number 3. Narrated by Darkness Prevails. Every night this thing sits over my bed. It stares at me. It whispers things, but they're inaudible. It doesn't matter how I sleep, it's there. It comes at me from any direction. It even goes through a wall. They call it sleep paralysis, and my entire life I believed they were right. Tonight was no different. It stared at me. I could move my eyes and nothing else. I was petrified. I made a mistake. I woke my wife up because as soon as I could move with every bit of my strength I could muster, and as fast as I could, I took a swing at the bastard. I hit air, of course. It's not the first time I did it. It's not the first time I missed. My wife was angry. She went back to bed quickly though, probably won't even remember in the morning. On the other hand, I can't sleep. I go down to the kitchen to get a glass of Jim Beam. The thing never bothers me when I'm drunk, or at the very least, it's easier to sleep through. At this point, I've downed a few shots, so I may be wrong, but I hear my boy moving around his room. I go upstairs. He's sweating. I'm glad I found little Patrick before he woke up the wife. I ask him what's wrong, if he needs to pee, if he's scared of something, cold, hot, etc. You know, the usual stuff you ask your kid when he wakes up sweating at 2 in the morning. He tells me something that chills me to the core. Daddy, he doesn't like it when you try to hit him. And number 4, narrated by nopetoocreepy.
I want to say up front, for the record, that I have zero belief in the paranormal. I believe all of what I'm about to tell you is simply a product of the amazing human brain. That said, I realize others will think differently and appreciate this story. And it doesn't mean the whole thing hasn't ever creeped me out. It did, and still does. Moving on. I work overnight at a funeral home. Basically, I babysit the place by myself all night. If someone croaks in the night, I'm there to answer the phones and dispatch someone for the body. I clean up a little and get a few things ready for the funerals the next day. Not the most glamorous job, but the job market sucks right now. And even with my few duties, I end up with hours to kill every night. I am technically not supposed to sleep on the job. That said, sometimes I do. I'll nod off at the desk, or sometimes I'll go lay down on one of the couches and take a power nap. I'm alone all night, other than a handful of bodies in different rooms, and it's boring. I think most people would do the same. The weird thing is, I get sleep paralysis regularly when I fall asleep at work. Although there have been very few times when someone shows up to the funeral home in the middle of the night unannounced, I am still fearful of one of the directors showing up unexpectedly and catching me sleeping. I believe this fear causes me to sleep lightly and, in turn, have sleep paralysis, because I rarely have it at home. Now, for those of you who have never had sleep paralysis, basically it's like this. Your eyes are open and you're seeing your surroundings, but you're not actually awake. So sometimes you still see or hear things from your dream. Like maybe you see something that isn't there or whatever. And you can't move. It feels as though you're being held down and you can't wake up. It feels as if you are straining against something when you try. For myself, I can usually snap myself out of it and wake up if I strain and thrash against it hard enough, and then I come awake suddenly and I'm able to move again. Google it if you want more information. It's interesting. Here are the weird things that happened to me when I had sleep paralysis. The first thing was the music. Sometimes when I would find myself lying there with my eyes open in sleep paralysis, I would begin to hear music, loudly and vividly. It was almost always Christian gospel music, but modern stuff like you'd hear on the radio. It always sounded like it was coming from inside my skull, too, particularly my mouth area. This sounds stupid, but at one point I even began to wonder if I was picking up some AM Christian station in my fillings and was only sensitive enough to hear it when I was asleep. Or maybe when my mouth was hanging open and it dried out. I even went so far as to remember one of the lyrics from the songs and Google it when I woke up. Although it didn't appear to be a real song. Sorry, I don't remember the lyric anymore as this happened a few months ago. Then the weirder things started happening. Sometimes when I'd fall into sleep paralysis, I would think I would hear someone walking toward me from one of the hallways. Fearing that it was an employee that had shown up unexpectedly, I would always frantically strain against the sleep paralysis and wake up, at which point the sound of footsteps was gone. After that, I always felt foolish for getting tricked by dream sounds. This went on for months and months, the music and the footsteps. Always when I'd hear the footsteps, I'd err on the side of caution and force myself to wake up just in case it really was another employee, only to be annoyed at having gone through the effort for nothing and having ruined a perfectly good nap. One night, while I was particularly tired and was napping on a couch, I slipped into paralysis and heard the footsteps. I decided, screw it, I wasn't going to get tricked by my sleep paralysis for the millionth time. So I just laid there, expecting I would either eventually wake up normally without the strain, or I would go back to sleep, or that the stupid footsteps would continue the way the music always did if I just laid there. Nope. To my complete surprise, the footstepper showed himself. I was lying on my back, stretched out, and a man came walking up from the direction of my head, coming into my field of view and stopping directly next to me. There was nothing particularly memorable about him, just a white male in some kind of dress shirt and slacks, except one thing. His face and head were obscured. They were blurred out, just like they do on the news for anonymous witnesses or whatever. Just like that. His head and face were obviously there, but I could see nothing but a smeary blur. Then, to my horror, he reached out and poked me lightly in the forehead and let out a sinister kind of chuckle. Sinister is probably the wrong word. It was more like he was laughing, as if to tell me, "Yeah, feel real brave now, don't you?" At that point, of course, I snapped myself awake and found myself alone, as always. It was very disturbing, of course, to say the least. Probably not as much as for other people, though to be honest, because I truly have no belief in ghosts or the paranormal, I chalked it up to the brain's tricks. But since then, it's happened twice more. The second time I saw someone, I found myself with my eyes open in sleep paralysis, staring at, I shit you not, a woman wearing a rubber clown mask, holding a gun at her side, just staring at me passively. Thankfully, I knew immediately that it was just my sleep paralysis and didn't panic, but I was unnerved enough to force myself awake and cause the woman to vanish. The third time was similar to the first. I was lying on the couch, and this small child approached me from behind. I think it was a boy, but I can't say for sure, probably around 6 or 7, and his face was also blurred like the man's had been. He began to giggle in amusement. I was immediately scared to the point that I forced myself awake. Of all the times that had happened, that one was by far the most disturbing. And that's it. That's my story. Sorry if I don't have a better resolution, but as I said, this is all true, and while I don't believe in anything paranormal, it is still pretty freaky, right?
And there you have it. The absolute truth of what could happen to any one of us every time we fall asleep. Just think about it. Every night, going to sleep, only to wake up to visions of ghouls, shadow people, and demons staring at you or even choking you. It'd be a living hell. Good night. But wait, for those of you who made it through this video as die-hard fans, I have an important question to you. I'd like to offer you guys something awesome that would be affordable. It might increase the channel's revenue while not taking away from the channel itself. You guys' happiness with the channel is very important to me. So, what would you think of a membership to the channel via the website? Those who sign up for maybe $2 a month would get access to my videos a week ahead of their schedule, see a list of upcoming videos, receive my old podcast episodes free as well as all available and future ebooks free, and maybe even get access to videos of me vlogging. You know, if you'd like to see more of this ugly mug. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think of this in the comments.